Hello. Hi, welcome to Convos and Coffee. Happy Tuesday. I'm so excited to be here today and excited to see you all. So I'm going to wait a second to get everybody on. How are you? What's going on? We are suffering through a very big heat wave here in Los Angeles, but I think it's going to pass soon. So it's been a little warm the last few days. Hi, everybody. Got my coffee. What do you got? What are you guys drinking? Let me know. You know, I love my coffee. One, maybe two a day, but I gotta pace myself. So, good morning. I am so excited to welcome my guest today. She is an extraordinary woman. Her name is Mary Alice Haney. And Mary Alice Haney has been many things in this life. She spent most of her career in fashion. She had her own fashion label, Haney, very successful. She was an editor of many magazines. And a couple years ago, she pivoted. And she pivoted to being what she has always been, is an advocate for women. But now she is a podcaster of one of the best podcasts out there called She MD, which we're going to tell you all about, and also her new line, Ovi. So I'm so excited to welcome her also because it's her birthday today. So yay. I'm excited to talk to her and I'm really excited for you to meet her. There's a lot of important information that we're gonna get through today. So let me invite her. Give me one moment. Here we go. So MA, did you get your invitation? Hi from Brazil. Hello, Brazil. Here she comes. Hi.
Oh my God, it worked.
Hi, MA. There you are.
Hi. This is my first Instagram live ever.
Welcome. I can see you well. I can hear you well. Happy birthday.
Thank you, my beauty. Thank you so much. And thank you for that amazing introduction. You know, like I said, this is my very first Instagram live, and I'm really bad with social media. Even when I have my fashion brand, my kids, you know, I have my social team would say, you've got to do a TikTok, you've got to do this. And they're like, Mom, that's so cringy. Yeah. Like, you don't know what you're doing. It's like, it's for the young. So I feel really like young on my 53rd birthday to be able to do my first Instagram live.
And you know what? It is that way. The thing I love about it, and you know, one of the reasons that I started to do it, because like you, I love people. I love conversation. I love learning. I love staying curious. And I feel like this is such a great way to connect to our communities in, you know, just meeting up every week, even if it's as casual as just a little coffee. What are we going to talk about? Mm-hmm. And so I love that. And we have people here from all over the world. So shout out to everyone. We've got Slovakia, we've got Brazil, like Boston.
Thank you, Boston. I just got a happy birthday. Well, first of all, Mama, how are you doing since the school drop off? Having Lucia go to college. I haven't really checked in with you since you dropped her off.
I know, we haven't had a catch up on this. I talked about it last week with KO, because KO just also had her drop off. And I was so happy to have a friend in arms in it. It is much harder than I thought it was going to be. You know it's hard because you're going to miss your babies, but I think what was harder was just, I don't know, like, you know, you do so much. We all sacrifice so much to bring up these littles, and in this day of parenting, we're so involved in different areas of their life, and I don't know. It was just really hard for a few days. It was really, really rough. I felt very numb, very empty, very emotional. But now I'm super happy because she's really happy. And so I feel like once things settle in, it's easier. But the initial is tough. It's tough.
Yeah. Gray, my oldest, is a senior, and he wrote me a birthday card this morning, and he goes, "Let's make my last birthday at home the best it can be." And I was like, that's so mean.
You know, by the way, it's terrible when already a year in advance, they're already anticipating leaving. It's so unfair.
I would say,
Yeah, I would say to Lucia, could you just stop? Let me just enjoy this moment. You're not leaving for 6 months.
Yeah,
Could you
yeah,
just stop?
yeah.
So yes, and your son Gray, both of your boys, and I forgot to mention that Mary Alice is a mother of 4 children, and she's got
Five.
five children, 2 teenage boys at home.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a lot. So, you are a multifaceted, multi-juggling mama, badass lady. And I just so like love everything. What I love about you is the way your energy, your vitality, and your spirit just attacks everything that you're passionate about. And you take no prisoners. You're not,
No, I know.
nobody's opinion matters. You don't care. You are like, this is who I am. This is what I'm going for. This is what I love. And you have done that in different areas of your life, but mostly your passion, fashion, which has been something that has been a huge part of most of your life. And then a couple of years ago, I just remember us sitting at a lunch together and kind of going deep really quickly about this moment in our lives when we hit this stage of, hitting 50 and hitting this number and feeling like, wait, what do I want to do with my life right now? How do I want it to feel? How do I want it to look? Where do I want to put my energy? And what was so incredible was how quickly you found that next thing, that next passion. And you went for it, and now you're sitting on one of the top 3 most successful, like, if not, what do you,
We're
I mean, you guys are
number
kicking
one
out.
female health podcast, which is incredible. And we've just been on the charts, neck and neck with Huberman Lab and a lot of these great, I remember that lunch super clearly. I had just shut down Haney, which is my fashion line that I'd had for close to 15 years. And I'd been in fashion for 30 years. And COVID happened, and I made red carpet cocktail dresses, and nobody was making red carpet cocktail. Nobody was going out to cocktail parties. Nobody was going, we're on the red carpet. So Neiman's was our biggest wholesale account that they went bankrupt at the time. I mean, it was just this whole crazy thing. And my husband had finally looked at me and he's like, okay, we're done. Like, you've done it for 15 years. You've been successful in so many different ways. Fashion is a really hard business for anybody and I love it and I knew this when I went into it, but I had a real crisis of, okay, who am I now without my company that I've built, and what am I going to do? And at the same time, my parents both really it was my dad, got Parkinson's, or his diagnosis came out with Parkinson's, and it progressed really quickly. And then I have a lot of brain disease in my family. So I started going down this rabbit hole of health. I was listening to Peter Attia and the Huberman Lab, and I was reading anything and everything that I could. And then one of our best friends, Molly Sims, has this amazing podcast called Lipstick on the Rim. And she said, hey, do you want to co-host this when my co-host isn't available? And I said, yeah, I'd love to. And not only do I want to do that, I want to bring doctors on that I want to interview. So brought on all these incredible doctors and included, brain health, menopause, all of that. And one day, as I was leaving, I just brought on the guru. I call him. I brought Kelly Ann, who is.
Oops, you just cut out. There you go.
People are calling me. I do that. So she had brought, I had brought on Richard Isaacson, who's the expert in brain health, and his protege, Kellyanne, who was Peter Attia's. And I was leaving, I was tired. And Molly goes, you really should stay. There's a doctor coming. Her name is Dr. Thais Aliabadi. And so she came, and as we were waiting, she started telling me about her breast. Am I freezing? Am I freezing, Sasha?
You are.
I'm going to go in here.
Okay, good.
Okay, see my new situation. I don't know what I'm going to go in here. This is what
Perfect.
we do. This is so
Find your
amazing.
spot. As long as we can see and hear you. There you go.
Okay. So anyway, she started talking about her own breast cancer journey, how she had brought Ozempic and
This,
Mounjaro
let me
really to,
just repeat, this is Dr. Thais Aliabadi, who
yes.
is an amazing OBGYN in LA, very renowned doctor from, I mean, so
I
many
mean,
people. And she's,
yeah. I mean, she just delivered Justin and Haley's baby. She's, you know, she's the Kardashians' doctor. She's Rihanna's doctor. You kind of name it. But really, when I met her, I was just blown away by her
yeah,
and her, you know, her journey with her own breast cancer. She saved Olivia Munn's life with breast cancer. She, you know, her life mission is PCOS and endometriosis, which we can talk about in a second. And so I stayed and co-hosted that podcast. And I just afterwards took her out to lunch and I said, you are my next chapter. I want to get you into the ears and eyes and, you know, homes of every woman in the world so that they can be their own health advocate.
right.
And we created GMD, and this was 8 months ago that we created GMD. And really the whole point of GMD, and that's our podcast, it's both, we'll talk about this in a minute. It's both on YouTube and a listening platform because I always wanted to do a talk show. That is so actually, this is my version of my talk show. But it's
and you're great at it because you're such a wonderful, and I told you that right in the beginning, you are such a open and accessible person, and you are very transparent in how you communicate with people. You love people. So I think you do such a phenomenal job. And it's not easy to jump into that if you've never done it before.
Well,
you know?
I just think, you know, when you find something, and again, our mission is that we bring the experts, whether it's menopause or PCOS or endometriosis or divorce or addiction or, you know, everything. The idea is that a woman can listen to our podcast and then go to their own doctor and say, hey, you need to do this test, this test, this test. My lifetime risk of breast cancer is this, so I need to do this. And really kind of take the power out of the medical industry and put it in the hands of women because we're dismissed. You know, polycystic ovarian syndrome, leading cause of infertility, 20% of all women have it, 75% don't even know they have it. Endometriosis, it takes 10 years to be diagnosed with endometriosis. And by that time, your eggs are probably, many times, your eggs are destroyed. So it's about like, you know, educating women and having them be their own advocate. And it's been incredible. I have to say, it is my purpose and my why. And to be able to have a second chapter like this that is so meaningful and so, I mean, I think we are making such a big impact. And she is, you know, she's such an incredible physician, and every other expert that we bring on to, we're bringing the best of the best.
Yeah.
And most people in the world can't either afford or have access to these kinds of doctors. So the idea is really, you know, when you listen to an episode, you're learning and we have like, here's what you do at the end of every episode. Here's what you do. Take this and bring it to your own doctor.
And with that, and I want to just highlight that that is so important, that this mission that a lot of women are on right now is going to change the world for women moving forward in every way. I know there's a lot of talk about, you know, menopause and so forth, but it's not just that. Menopause is connected to all of our years, our cycle as women. From the moment that we begin our cycle till we end, and we're on the planet. Like literally, it's everything. And it's so fascinating when you learn that so many doctors do not dive into these areas dealing with women. And so it's fascinating that a doctor like Dr. A, as we call her, not only has the instinct and ability to do so, but she truly is a woman she's a pioneer. I mean, she is someone who is going and diving into areas that people just didn't want to talk about. Like and so the fact that you guys are able to bring this information to everybody is life-changing for people. It really, really is. So I love what you're doing because I think it is taking also just any kind of stigma off of this discussion of things, like whether it's having a hard time having children, whether it's breastfeeding, whether it's getting breast cancer. There are so many topics that you're tackling. I mean, the most recent with Olivia Munn, who's a client of her, a patient of hers, she helped her discover that she had breast cancer, and so what that journey was. So I feel like, we learn through other people's stories, And if we can learn from someone, and both of you that are actually out there pulling in these people and providing this information for everybody, it's so vital. It really is.
The other incredible thing that's happened is, yes, Dr. A has these, incredible women with these huge platforms and who don't talk about their personal life. And they've come on our podcast and just been so open about their medical issues and really talking about it and bringing awareness. I mean, from Kim Kardashian talking about psoriasis to Halsey talking about her autoimmune, SZA, her PCOS and endo. We have coming up Sophia Richie and Florence Pugh, PCOS. It's just, they've come because, at first it was started because there were Dr. A's clients and she's just so amazing and they wanted to help. But really it was because they felt that they could use their voice and their platform to help other women. And it has. It's just been incredible. I wake up every single day and I'm like, I thank God. I'm like, thank you so much for giving me the ability to know how to kind of pull this all together and to have met this incredible doctor and then, and. So I don't know, it's amazing.
Well, we thank you because, it's your tenacity, like I said, and your vitality and desire to want to do things in this lifetime that are your passions, but also that are moving things forward. And I think one of the things at that lunch that we both sort of felt was like, we want to do something meaningful. We want to do something that matters, like something that allows us to bring people together, find a way to open doors in terms of information of whatever that may be. And so the fact that you turned around and that dropped in for you and that you were able to take it and do what you've done, I'm just super, thank you, because we all should be thanking you. We're all going to just keep watching the podcast, so we're going to keep thanking you. But how, and then I want to talk about also how that has spawned into your launching of OV. So, and I also would like for you to, in a couple things, and then so a couple things and I also want you to talk a little bit about PCOS because a lot of people don't know what that is. Yeah. And can you tell us a little bit about it?
So those I can talk about them both together because they're the same. So Dr. A's mission in life were three things. One, to get every woman to know her lifetime risk of breast cancer. So really with Olivia, that happened. And if you go on our site, you can calculate your own lifetime risk. And we tell you exactly what you need to do in order. If you have above 22, you need to get, you can go and you can see. So that was number one. Number two is she sees so many, the majority of, other than women having babies, are women with polycystic ovarian syndrome, which is PCOS. And you get PCOS when you first start your period and you have it for your entire life. So it never goes away. And there is no cure for PCOS, but you can treat the symptoms, because if you don't, it's the leading cause of infertility, that and endometriosis. Women with PCOS have a lot of eggs, but the quality of their eggs is bad. So and their ovulation is off. So that's why they're not ovulating correctly, because their insulin levels are super high, which causes their testosterone to be really high, which deals with their the egg fluctuation, and they gain weight. So you sometimes see three sisters and one of them is overweight. They're all eating the same, they're all exercising the same, and one of them can't lose weight. She probably has PCOS. They have facial acne because the testosterone levels are so high. So they have sort of male pattern baldness sometimes, which is like the hair loss, and acne on their face. You don't have to have all of those. And then you have and you can sometimes on ultrasound have PCOS looking ovaries, they look like little string of pearls. But if you don't know that you have that and treat it, then like I said, your eggs get destroyed. You get these young girls. Dr. A talks to us all the time. Like, they come in with severe eating disorders because every doctor says to them, just eat less and exercise more. And they're like, I can't eat I can't eat less than I'm eating right now. Yeah. So the treatment for PCOS is metformin and spironolactone, which are two medications that maybe you don't want to be on for your whole entire life, and maybe they have side effects. So we have, with Dr. A, we worked with the scientists that created Ritual Vitamins and several scientists to create a once a day supplement that you can take that does the exact same thing as metformin.
Wow.
Um, so you don't actually have to have PCOS to use our formula in order to gain all the benefits, because it's insulin resistance. It handles that. It handles inflammation. Women with PCOS have a lot of inflammation too because of all the things that I'm telling you about. So it's going to be a game changer. Like I said, 20% of all women have it, and 75%. We're also going to have a calculator on our site that you can go on and put your symptoms in, and it'll tell you. We can't diagnose you legally, but we can tell you that it'll spit out like you have a high likelihood, a medium likelihood, or you probably don't have PCOS. So
I think you know what's so interesting about women's health, particularly after we've had children or even after 35, is that so many symptoms that come in we think are products of like what our lifestyle is.
Totally.
We're drinking too much, we haven't worked out, it's that time of the month. Like there's like a million excuses that we can find, stress or whatever it is, and we put things off. And they could be these underlining things. Like I remember when my whole friend group went out and started to get pregnant, most people had a really hard time getting pregnant. It was just like they had doctors tell them that they would never have children. I have a very dear friend who literally the doctor said, "I'm so sorry, you are never going to have children." And I remember I told her, no, you go over, there was a doctor, I'm going to forget his name. He was a Chinese medical doctor, like an acupuncturist. And I said, go to him, see what he has to say. And you know what? He worked with her.
Yeah.
He regulated her hormones. He got her on a special diet to really clean her system. 4 children, healthy, natural born children. Later, she's like, so it's just crazy how much sometimes we can hear negative information that totally affects our life in that way. So the fact that we can now, as you said, go into a calculator and potentially put in symptoms or be asking ourselves, hey, is this or is it something else? Like I thought when I was working on Rizzoli and Isles, we were working so many hours, I was like always on set, and I started having symptoms as well, like migraines, and I constantly just felt this level of fatigue that I could not get rid of no matter how much I slept. So I kept saying, well, I'm working a lot, I'm just exhausted. But it didn't really go away. And then I finally went to a doctor and did a bunch of blood work and realized that like I had this underlying thyroid condition that was coming out of so many things, post having babies, post working too hard, whatever it was, genetics, like all sorts of stuff. So it's really interesting that we really have to understand that there's so many things that can be sleepers.
And to listen to yourself. Like it doesn't matter if it's whether you're a teenager or you're pregnant or you're in menopause. Women, and I've heard this again and again and again on the podcast, when women think something is wrong, something is wrong.
Right.
Like we have a real intuition and we get dismissed in the medical industry. So you have to keep advocating for yourself. I mean, Dr. A says if she could get every 18-year-old in the world in her office, she would shut down fertility clinics, because like I said, PCOS, endometriosis aren't diagnosed, and then even if they are, most people don't really know what to do about it. So it's just, I love that you said that. And you are someone that you were working your ass off during that time, but you knew something was wrong and you had the ability to go to a great doctor who was able to give you the perfect diagnosis. And you started, I mean, I don't know how long that took you to sort of feel good again, but I know I had an episode with an amazing celebrity that's going to come out in about a month, and she's never talked about her pregnancy, and she talked about getting preeclampsia after pregnancy. So she was Dr. A's patient, and she after 2 days after she came home from the hospital, she's like, something is wrong. And she gained all this fluid. And she was like, I wasn't even going to call Dr. A because I was sort of like, oh, I'm like, and she did. And Dr. A said, get your butt to the hospital right now, because preeclampsia after pregnancy, nobody even, I was like, I didn't even know that even happened after pregnancy.
I don't know anything
She
about
could have
it.
had a stroke. She could, I mean, it's kind of crazy, but that's the, like, I get chills just listening to the story, because, you know, she didn't want to leave her newborn baby, you know, all of these things. But it's just like, women need to listen. They need to listen to themselves, and they need to arm themselves and be educated so that they can be their own health advocate. I think that's true with anything. I mean, even, you know, I'm on my second marriage. I love my first husband. He's my best friend.
I didn't want to make the
I
pivot,
love him.
but let's make the pivot.
But
we're good
when I
at
met my
pivoting.
when I met my second husband, I treated finding him like a job. I tell everybody that. They're like, how did you find Hot Tom? And I was like, I didn't find Hot Tom. I searched for Hot Tom. I threw fake parties to invite Hot Tom. Like, you know, I think every, you know, like whether it's your career or your, you know, love in your life, you know, we can't sit, or your health, like all of these things take a non-passive, in my opinion, approach, which is you can't wait for life. You can't wait for life to, you know, to join you. You have to really kind of go out there and make it happen for yourself in all of these areas. So
You do, but you know, not everybody knows how to do that. Like, it's like, you know, we get stuck in a certain mindset. A lot of people are, it's a lot of training of the mind. Like, some people are born, I actually think you were born with an energy and the tenacity to do, like, some people just wake up and that's their natural state, is to sort of go, wait, where are we going? I'm not going to sit still. I'm not just going to sit here and wait. And that's a product. I mean, you were raised in Tennessee. You pulled yourself out of what you wanted to do. You're in New York, you're in LA, like, you built that. But if you were to give a piece of advice to somebody who is stuck in sort of this moment of going, you know, how do I find my passion or doing something that truly matters to me, what's the first step?
the first step, and I talk to a lot of young people when I give them career advice, the first step is literally figuring out what you want to do. And I always say, one of the first questions I ask is, if you could pick anybody's job in the world, what would that be? Because sometimes I think people get so overwhelmed and they think, oh, I want to go into fashion. Well, what do you want to be a designer? Do you want to be a publicist? Do you want to be, you know, the head of Net-a-Porter? Like, what is it that you want to be? And then figure out how to, you know, figure out that path, because everything is possible. I think it was Oprah that said one time, I remember hearing this and it stuck with me, that success comes from being completely prepared, that it's not luck. It's about, you know, opportunity and being absolutely prepared in that moment for that opportunity. So it's just, you have to kind of make your own opportunity. Yeah. But I'll tell you, like, sometimes I get, you know, if I've had interns, I've had assistants, I've had people who just will not leave me alone. If they email, I saw this, and finally I'm like, okay, come on in. And I ended up hiring them because they are the ones that they knew what they wanted. They went up, and nothing is impossible. I'm from Chattanooga, Tennessee. You know, I have one of the biggest podcasts right now. I had one of the biggest fashion lines. Like, I didn't grow up in I grew up in an amazing family, but I didn't grow up in I'm not a Gucci. I'm not a, you know, I'm not a Ford. You know, I'm not somebody that had people that like could help me get there. I had to figure out how to get there myself. And I really believe that anything is possible. Anything. You can be anything in this world.
But you do have to wake up, and you have to have the energy to do that, and you have to have the desire to want to do that and to bring that to people. Because let's for a moment talk about the fact that, like, you are raising children and you are maintaining a marriage that you want to keep hot and heavy. I know you do. And not heavy, hot and hot. So, you know, and you've now set out, you know, and you're doing this other business. So I think that that's something that can really be challenging for women. You know, we're all in different situations, and we all feel the responsibility, and also for everything, right? I mean, as women, we are naturally, we talk about dropping them off at college, we are tied, umbilical cord tied to these children that we give birth to, and we raise them, and we're raising them in a world where we want to always protect them from things, and we're just kind of, so there's so much, there's so many things that you manage. How do you do that? Like, do you how does your organization of your life work in terms of compartmentalizing these things? If an issue comes up with your child, and I know that you're very present with your children, how do you do that?
I think, I'm a double, it's funny, I'm a double Virgo.
Really?
So, yeah,
wow.
But if you saw my desk, you would say, that's one thing that my husband gets so mad at me. He's like, you are so messy. Like when you look at our counter, like his is totally clean, and I have like products, and I step out of my clothes and they fall on the floor. So I don't seem like I am. I have really bad ADD because I'm like this and that and this and that. And I think that that's actually served me really well. So it's when I tell my kids who are, and I tell sometimes, and by the way, I think medication is great. I think if it's needed, it's completely great. But I also think sometimes the things that we think are a detriment to us can actually be a positive. And I
agree with you. And I say this to people because I definitely feel like I'm that. I look at it now and I realize I'm like ADHD, but I never thought that before because no one in my life ever sort of stopped to say, hey, that thing, because I actually believe it's part of my creativity. So even though now at this stage, sometimes it bugs me, and I definitely, Eduardo will be like, what's this mess, or what's this pile in this corner? And I'm like, I'm working through it. I know what's in that pile, and I'm going to go through it.
Exactly.
It is my creativity. It is how I function. I like to have different things going on. It literally stimulates my creativity to have different things going on.
Yeah, me too. So, to answer that question, it's hard, that part, to make sure that my kids are getting everything they need, that my husband's getting everything he needs, and I will say, my first marriage, again, everyone that knows me knows he's my best friend now, set him up with his fiance, couldn't love the man more, but we were very mismatched as a couple. And so it was like this all the time. And there was a lot of time and energy in that energy and that fighting, where my husband now is really like, we're so, not that we don't fight, I'm not saying that, but the energy, there's not that extra energy, like trying to make it fit, trying to make it work, being so sad that that we had that big fight. So that helps. It helps. And I know you and Eduardo are the same. Like, you just got really lucky the first time to find this, somebody that fits you in that way. But I think that's another part of it that is when that works. And I think about that a lot. I think about the fact that, and I don't take that for granted, because if that wasn't working, if my husband and I weren't working, or my kids weren't working, meaning that they weren't doing well, you're always as happy as your most unhappy child. Like, it didn't, who cares about this podcast? Who cares? Not to say that I would be so devastated, but like these things have to be kind of working in order for all the creativity to happen with all that. So I do know how blessed I am in that way, and how that I get to do what I love, because those things for the most part work. Like I said, we call it, with our 5 kids, we call it whack-a-mole. Like, everybody's good, then one pops up, and then we got to deal with that one, and the other one pops up, and we got to deal with that one. But
I think also, finding partners is also, and I talk about this with Lucia, because she's now 18. And so, it's like you start to begin to sort of look at partners. There's a lot of people that you can connect with, or have chemistry with, or have crazy lust with, but they're not actually like a good partner for you. Like I feel like, I was saying this to somebody recently, and I said, it's like those guys that want to be the hot girl in the relationship. They wouldn't work for you, because you're the hot hot girl in the relationship. Not every girl wants to be the hot girl in the relationship, and that's okay. But there are guys that want to be the hot girl in the relationship. They want the attention on them. They don't want to be with a woman that has that vitality and interest in doing things, because then you're not at home. You're out there meeting people and doing stuff. So it's not for everybody. You know, like I definitely had what I thought were a couple, you know, loves of my life, or loves in my life before Eduardo. And it was like you said with your first marriage, it was completely tumultuous because they hated what I did. They absolutely hated it. It made them feel insecure and jealous and freaked out, and they just weren't into it. And so when Eduardo came along, maybe it's because he had an actress mother and she was a great mother and she went off to work. He had a different security about him. And so that security lent itself to our personality, like our personalities. He also does not care about being the hot girl in the relationship.
Even though he's so hot, you know how much I think.
I know you and Eduardo.
He's also the funniest person I think I've ever met in my entire life. Like, he really makes me laugh harder than anybody. I mean, and everybody says that about your husband, but he honestly makes me laugh. This morning, Tom and I went for a walk. I woke up really early. We walked the dog, and we were just talking about how it was 15 years ago when we first met, and I had a birthday party. And I said to him, I go, do you lust after me as much as you lusted after me back then? And he was like, no. He's like, I lust after you in a different way, but that beginning lusting, and I was like, I still lust after you the same way that I did 15 years ago. But, you know, it's just relationships, they're different. They're like, sometimes you're just crazy for them. Sometimes you're like, sometimes, but.
Listen, it's hard. I said to Eduardo recently, I was like, we've spent like a lot of time together since COVID. I mean, we know a lot of friends that have broken up since COVID, because I think it was just like too much. And there were moments where I had to be like, wait, you need to get like an office outside of the house, or we need to I was always gone. And then all of a sudden since COVID, I wasn't always gone. And I didn't know what it was like to be in a relationship when you see someone day in, day out. It's wonderful, but I think it can also be, it can also just take away some of the, the mystique and the magic around being, with your partner in a more romantic way. I mean, once you have kids, we know you're already taking a lot you have to work on keeping that romance alive. But now you're together. So very often I'm like, I love you, but it's time for you to you need to go do something. Go to Mary Alice and Tom's house and hang out. Go do something.
How long have y'all been together?
So we just celebrated our 17-year anniversary, 17 years, and then married, and 20 years together.
Wow.
Yeah, we can't believe it's 20 years together. It's weird. It's totally weird. He's so loving. He very often says, I feel like you're still my new girlfriend, which I know he doesn't really mean, though. It's such a nice thing to say. I don't know. Come on. There's no way that you can do that after so long. But I do think what he means is that sometimes when you find the right partner, you also challenge each other. Yeah. And so we do have a relationship that when things get tough, we do dig into the difficulty. We don't pretend, we're not deniers. We're not hiding out, pretending it's not happening. I mean, it might take a little time, but then once it does, we dig into that. And when we do, and I think most people do, you discover something, right? You have a breakthrough. Yeah. And in that breakthrough, you discover the person in a different way, because now they jumped through a difficulty with you that you didn't think they could manage. And then when they do, it makes them so much sexier. And then all of a sudden you're back into going,
back into there.
I'm in. So I think I do think that finding that kind of that match in that way. And Tom is such a lovely human being, and also somebody that really lets you shine and do your thing. And I feel like in this world right now, we're talking a lot about, and we know, raising boys, which is a whole other day of discussion, which we should do, because I totally want your advice, because you're ahead a bit. But I think that also people are concerned now, because raising boys, to have the self-confidence and self-esteem, that they are with women that also have self-confidence and self-esteem. Like, it doesn't take away from them. It only will build them up. And so how do we give that to our boys? How do we teach them? I mean, they're learning because they see moms like us, but still, I want all young men to have, and not just young men, but all men to be able to not be afraid. And we're saying this on the night of, like, you know, debates going on.
I know.
Not be afraid of strong women. Like, don't be scared. It's all good. The world is like, there's enough space for everybody to be great. Well, like, that's what I think.
Yeah, and I think that we could really dig into that. I think that one thing I always tell people to, you know, that are unhappy in a marriage and are thinking about divorce, and they say, I'm just going to wait till the kids go to college. I'm just going to stick it out until and I say, that is what you want to show your kids. Mm-hmm. You want to show your children that first of all, that's the kind of relationship, or that their life is more important than your life. Yeah. I think that's I think it's like teaching our children that, hey, we love you and we will jump in front of a bus, which we will if we need to, but our life is important too, and our happiness is important too, and I need to mimic that for you so that you can see that for yourself. Yeah. And in terms of our boys, like, it's a hard time to be a boy right now. I mean, I think they're getting a lot of messages about, you know, we have two polar opposite. Our country is really divided in the middle, and one side thinks a boy should do this, and one side thinks a boy should do this, and they're trying to figure out where they fit in it. And I think the best advice I could give raising boys is, again, like, with this world being so crazy, try to mimic what you want them to be at home, and try to, as much, my kids roll their eyes, but they're getting it somewhere inside.
Yes, but your young men they're such gentlemen. They always say hello. They always give hugs. They always recognize. They look in the eye. They shake hands. Like, they have your warmth and ability to connect with people. And that's clearly something that has come from you, maybe a little from their dad, but let's just say, I'm joking. But, you know, but I think that that's something that, I mean, they have such manners and they're so respectful, and that's so huge.
Yeah.
You know, it's so huge. Oftentimes I will say to Leo and even his friends sometimes that I know really well, I'm like, guys, look in the eye. You walk into someone's home, you say hello, you introduce yourself, you say thank you, like, just manners of, you know, of ways of just being in the world. So anyway, you and I could go on and on and on, but I want to say first of all, thank you for doing this on your birthday.
Thank you for having me on my birthday. This is my favorite way to start my day on my birthday.
With the world.
With the world.
I'm sharing you with the world. Thank you for doing this on your birthday. And thank you for what you are doing, bringing light and awareness to women's health in a way that we have not seen before. Our generation is going to make this such a more beautiful path for all women in future generations because of what's going on right now. I mean, because what we're doing and what you're talking about. And thank you to Dr. A as well. You know, she's incredible. And so I want everybody to check out SheMD, and also Ovi, which is coming out, and you can hear more about it on SheMD because you guys will talk more about it and so forth. And so, and also the other thing too, that one day, you know, I'd like for you and Dr. A maybe to come back. I think what's really also interesting about everything you're saying is that, having spent so much time in Europe, and so many of my European friends, they're not getting the information that we're getting. And you would think that they would. Like, you'd think that in Switzerland and France that they're like ahead of the game in that way. They're not, because none of the medical schools or anything really spend a lot of time that much. I'm talking about women's health. They do up until your childbearing years.
Right.
And then after that, everything that happens after you give birth, the way your body changes and all the things that come with that are completely sort of a mystery to a lot of people. And so I think it's so important what you're doing. So thank you for your spirit, and you know, not just in my life, but thanks for what you're bringing to everybody. I
Oh,
really,
thank you,
it's
sweet
amazing.
Sasha. I love you and thank you for doing this. This would not be possible 10 years ago, 20 years
Yeah.
ago, either my podcast or
Yeah.
this. I mean, the fact that you can sit in your house and reach so many people doing this, it's really special. You and I've talked about this. I'm really proud of you. So thank you for letting me be a part of it.
Thank you, honey. And may this be another success. I say success because we all measure success differently, but success in your health, in your peace, in your family, in all that way. May this year just be a lot more blessings and all good things. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Mwah.
Love you. And thank you guys so much for coming and showing up. And check out SheMD because there's so much more information on everything we talked about on the podcast. So, okay.
Bye.
Ciao. Bye.